Hey, NHL fans and Ducks fans, we're back. We're going to get into some NHL news, and today is actually Saturday, October 1st. It's October, everybody. Regular season is so close, I can almost smell it and taste it. It's close. So, we're going to get into some Duck stuff, recap of yesterday's scores, and then at the very end, you got to stick around. We're going to do my Atlantic Division 1 through 8 rankings. My predictions for the Atlantic Division. Top team, bottom team, okay? Stick around. Okay, guys, so here we go. I wanted to talk about some things that happened on Friday night, some injuries. I always start with injuries, don't I? I want to talk about Carl Dahlstrom. He's a Leafs defenseman, and he's injured. So here's another Maple Leafs injury. Hopefully this doesn't continue for them. They've already got Sabers injured. But he got cross-checked into the boards. Apparently he had to have surgery, shoulder surgery, and he's going to be out for about 6 months is the prediction there. So anytime you have any kind of major surgery, that's the case. Carl Dahlstrom is going to be out. Here's the big one. Okay, there's a lot of injuries in the NHL. There's some notable players that I've touched on in previous videos, but the newest one, kind of close to me as a Ducks fan, Erho Bach. Erho Bach was kind of a really nasty looking spill into the boards. He was going really fast, fed Derek Grant for the first goal of that game, by the way. But he fed Derek Grant with the primary assist, but he got off balance right around the goal line and fell awkwardly into the boards. And he basically was like on his side and it just smacked right into him. It was, boy, when you watch it, you think the worst. He was immediately, the players came over, called over the medical staff and the Ducks trainers, get over here, this guy needs help type thing. It was very, very obvious, very quickly to them. They didn't take any chances. I think he was probably knocked unconscious, lost consciousness for a little bit. But either way, they put him on a stretcher, neck brace, the whole nine. They didn't want to take any chances, and they stretchered him off the ice. So Erho Bach, who, quite honestly, we got him in at the trade deadline last year, and he played for us for the remaining of the year. He was I think he was in the third pair on the blue line for the Ducks. But he's a young guy. We got him, and I think he's going to be part of the future. I really do. And he's a good young defenseman. And he's a stay-at-home type of defenseman. Obviously, last night, he looked good with his feed to Derek Grant for the goal, but, it didn't turn out so well for him. In the end, he got stretchered off. Our thoughts go out to him. Let's hope for a speedy recovery for Erho Bach, okay? All right, so lots of other injuries we know about. I've talked about them in previous videos. Let's just jump into the scores from yesterday. And so that would have been September 30th, Friday night's game. So Friday, okay? Preds 7, Tampa Bay 1. This game was very lopsided. Hagel was the only goal scorer for Tampa, the lone goal they had. Predators put up 7 on them. You never want to see that, but it is preseason. Don't put too much into it, but that's kind of a spanking right there, if you will. 7-1, Preds over Tampa. Another one was New York Rangers 2, the New Jersey Devils 1, 2-1. In that one, and Artemi Panarin had a goal. It's actually his first goal of the preseason. So Jack Hughes also had a goal. The only goal for New Jersey. Leafs 6, Ottawa Senators 3. Something on that, I watched that game. Not all of it, but I did watch a good chunk of it. Robertson, he's a Leaf, and I was watching him, and even the announcers on the telecast were talking about him. And man, is he good. He's got a great shot. He's speedy, he's fast, a little slippery guy, and he's got a really good shot. Robertson's one to watch for the Leafs. Next game, the Washington Capitals blanked the Wings 2-0. Now Ovechkin made his debut in that game. He didn't have a goal, didn't have an assist. He was a +1. I think he had 6 shots on goal in that game. So Ovechkin's on the ice and starting to play. Actually, it was 4 shots on goal in that game. The nice thing for Capitals in this one was Darcy Kemper, and then their other one, Lindstrom, their other goalie. So Lindstrom's probably going to be the number 2. Kemper's going to be the number 1. They played really well. Both goalies shut out the Red Wings. So that is a good sign for the Caps. Hopefully that continues for them, right? Flames 1, Oilers 2. So Oilers won at home over the Flames. Draisaitl had a shorthanded goal in that game. Leon Draisaitl, one of the best players in the NHL. We all know that. One of the best guys. He had a shorthanded goal. The Sharks had a split squad game. They played the Ducks and they played the Vegas Golden Knights. They beat the Golden Knights 7-3 on that one. And a guy named Gushkin on the Sharks had a hat trick. So that's a good sign for the Sharks. If you're a Sharks fan, you want to see your players gelling. And so he made a case for himself. He'll probably... might see him in a Sharks uniform, Gushkin, with a hat trick. So the big game obviously was the Sharks and Ducks game, the one I watched. That one obviously went the Ducks' way. It was 4-1 at the end. So some good numbers put up by the Ducks. Very, very exciting to watch. They had a lot of their minor league players playing and some of their rookies that they've drafted recently in the game. But I mean, the big news out of that game was the Erho Bach injury, and but they did win the game. And some of the things I really like to see in that were Maxime Comtois. Maxime Comtois had a great season 2 years ago. That COVID shortened season, he led the Ducks in goals. He looked really, really, really good. He didn't do that last year. And I know a lot of people expected him to do about the same, if not better, but he didn't. He had a pretty bad year last year overall. And so that was kind of unexpected. This year, Maxime Comtois, you've got to have a good year, my friend. And I think he's got it. He's got that 20 to 30 goal potential if he can just tap into it. And sometimes it's chemistry. Sometimes it's, playing with the right guys. And maybe sometimes it's just finding your own and getting confidence, kind of like Troy Terry did last year, where Terry came out of nowhere. We knew he had the ability and the talent and the skills, but it wasn't until last year till he broke out and he put up 37 goals. I know the Ducks fans and the Ducks organization are expecting the same out of Terry this year, and they're going to expect Maxime Comtois to have the year he had a couple years ago. So we need him to have a big year. That's going to help us moving forward throughout the season. We need more goal scoring, straight up. That's why we got Ryan Strome, and that's why we went out and got Frank Vetrano. That's why we went out and got a John Klingberg to add offense on the blue line. So you see Maxime Comtois step up. You've got Zegras, you've got Troy Terry, the new additions. The Ducks look really good. I love it. So I touched on Vetrano. He had a goal last night as well. And a guy named Nathan Beaulieu, who's actually on a PTO with the Ducks. He looks pretty good. And he's been impressing the Ducks organization, the coaching staff as well. We might see him sign a contract. We'll see. It's getting soon. We're seeing a lot of players getting reassigned. It's like crazy right now. These next few days, and I've touched on it before. This is the time right now. We're almost there to the regular season where they're going to start trimming till they get to their regular season roster. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about that. I touched on it just now on trimming the roster, I should say. 11 players on the Ducks, 11 of them. All got assigned to San Diego. So a big chunk of players just got said, hey, no, you're going to San Diego. You're going to play for the Gulls. Get out of here. So 11 is a lot. There's only 2 that stood out to me, okay? One was Braden Tracy, a left winger. Braden Tracy's been in the organization now for a little bit. Still young, still a rookie. I think he's had a few games with the Ducks when they brought him up on a need-only basis. But Braden Tracy got sent back down. I really like that guy. He's a good young forward that can put the puck in the net. Now, can he do it at the NHL level? That has yet to be seen. And I think that's why we're not seeing Braden Tracy yet. He's down at San Diego, and they sent him back down there. Another one that Jacob Perreault. Jacob Perreault is a right winger. pure goal scorer. Obviously, they weren't ready for him yet. I think they feel like he just needs more time playing at the AHL level. He did spend some time with the Ducks last year, being called up when they needed him. But Jacob Perreault, I really like him. I hope he becomes a regular in the Ducks lineup and finds his way to putting some pucks in the net. That would be really good for the Ducks, especially because he's a winger. We always need some good high-scoring wingers. So there's your players that got sent down. So we've trimmed the roster. The Ducks have 11 gone. So we still got quite a bit, but we're trimming them every day. Like I said, it's going to get lower and lower. Let's see what else. Ryan Strome had an assist in that game. He looks really good, man. It's funny, as a Ducks fan on the West Coast, we typically don't see a lot of the Metro and the Atlantic Division teams playing. But Frankie Vetrano, Ryan Strome, those guys, even though we didn't know a whole heck of a lot about them, we do now. And of course, me being a hockey buff and a Ducks fan primarily, as soon as you hear something like that in the offseason, get signing them, I did my research, kind of looked into it, I was like, wow, okay, these guys have pretty good numbers. I like this. So I like the signings. I've talked about that before. Ducks fans who are into, they know this is good for the team. This is stuff that Pat Verbeek, I think that we like. The Bob Murray era is over. Thank you. The Pat Verbeek era has begun. Ryan Strome, Frank Vetrano, they look really good. I can't wait to see them in the regular season and see what kind of numbers they can put up. So super excited about that. So I want to touch real quick on the same thing, same game. Maxime Comtois, we were talking about it a little bit earlier, but he had a goal. It was the second goal of the game for the Ducks. It was a 5-on-3 power play for the Ducks. Man, did he find that rebound? He roofed it. You got to see the highlights. Backhanded, upper corner, sweet. And that's what we need from Maxime Comtois. So anyways, moving on to we're going to get into my Atlantic Division standings prediction. Okay, so basically, I'm just going to predict 1 through 8. I'm going to go backwards though, but my top 8 or my 1 through 8 predictions on standings at the end of the season. Okay, so let's get into it. At number 8, the Buffalo Sabers. The Buffalo Sabers, they've been struggling for several years. They've been this constant rebuild, it seems like. They can just never get out of. I don't see the Buffalo Sabres doing a whole heck of a lot this year. Kind of going to be the same thing. They'll get another high draft pick. We know that. Goaltending, that's their big thing right now. I think that's not going to help them. And they just need to be able to get some more goal scoring. Like any team, that's kind of what you look for. Goaltending, keep the puck out of the net, but you got to be able to put it in the net too. So they're going to struggle again this year, I think. They might do better than they did last year as far as point total, but they're still going to come in 8th spot, my prediction. Number 7 in the Atlantic Division is going to be the Montreal Canadiens. Montreal. Nick Suzuki is now the captain. What else we got? Carey Price. Great goaltender. Still having problems with his knee. That doesn't help them one bit. A healthy Carey Price maybe puts the Montreal Canadiens a little bit higher in the standings. No Carey Price doesn't help. They just signed Jake Allen to a 2-year extension. So Jake Allen has been re-upped. He's not a bad goaltender. He's going to have a really good year for the Montreal Canadiens if they're going to not come in 7th and do better. But I really feel like even with the number 1 draft pick last year, we're just not going to see that big of an improvement from the Montreal Canadiens. So they're going to be in 7th place. At number 6, I have the Detroit Red Wings. A lot of people may not agree with me on this. I think the Detroit Red Wings are definitely heading in the right direction. Stevie Yzerman is an amazing GM. He was an amazing player, so it doesn't surprise me that he's doing really well as a general manager. But adding Andrew Kopp, adding Perron, those are huge, and that's going to help the team tremendously. I feel like goaltending's still kind of an issue. They may not be quite there yet. We'll find out. We're going to find out. And then Moritz Seider. Moritz Seider won the Calder. I thought Trevor Zegras should have got it, to be honest with you. And that's not just because I'm a Ducks fan. I just felt like he was just a little bit better. But Moritz Seider, has to have another year like he did last year or improved upon. So if Moritz Seider continues to play well and have a year like he did, Kopp, these new additions, Perron, they're definitely going to be a better team and harder to play against. I just don't think they're going to get past that number 6 spot. So they're my number 6. Here's the big, for me at least, the big change, if you will, the surprise, if you will. Ottawa, number 5. Okay, Ottawa would have been down in the bottom, like probably around 7, if it wasn't for the additions they made in Claude Giroux and Alex DeBrincat and Cam Talbot. You talk about going out and upgrading your team in a big way and showing that you want to win and you want to start making a huge leap in the standings and whatnot now, right now, not, working your way through it. That's what the Ottawa Senators went and did, and I think they're going to be way better than they were last year. Way better. Keep in mind they still have Stutzel, I should say. They still have him. He signed a long-term deal with the Ottawa Senators, and he's a great young player as well. So they're going to be much better than they were last year. Are they going to get into the playoffs? That's going to be the real question. I think they can probably do it. Now, they're not going to be able to do it in that 5th spot in the Atlantic. They're going to have to surprise me and a bunch of other people and get into like a wild card, squeak in on a wild card. But we'll see. I have them coming in the 5th spot, but making a big improvement this year. At number 4, I've got the Boston Bruins. The Bruins are one of those teams, to me, they're kind of like the Washington Capitals, kind of like the Pittsburgh Penguins. They've got a lot of older guys that are getting towards the end of their career. They're a team that's almost to that point where maybe a rebuild is in the future here really soon. Boston Bruins are still a good team. They still have a lot of depth. Goaltending might be a little bit of an issue for them. We'll see. I have a feeling they're going to do well. I don't think they're going to blow anything out of the water, but that 4th spot I think is where the Boston Bruins are going to fall. Now, the only team I think that might sneak past them is Ottawa. Ottawa might slip in there, and then the Boston Bruins fall down to 5th. That's the only kind of right there where I think that might happen. But I have them right now at the 4th spot, mainly because of the experience they have. I think experience is huge when it comes to getting to the end of the regular season, into the postseason. So Boston Bruins at 4. In the 3rd spot in the Atlantic, I have the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, the Tampa Bay Lightning have gone to the Stanley Cup final 3 years in a row. They won it the first 2, and they lost to the Colorado Avalanche last year. Can Tampa get back to the final? I don't think so. I think that run and that era with them is not over, but I just don't think they can continue to do that. You got to remember, Stanley Cup playoffs are brutal and they're grueling. I mean, you're playing all the way up into June, and then you pick up, to do that 3 years in a row. That's gotta just start to tax the players. And, I just think that at some point here, and this is probably the first year where we're going to see them drop off a little bit. So they still have some really good players. They did lose McDonough and Palat. Those are 2 very important key pieces to that Stanley Cup running team in the last few years. So we'll see what happens and see if missing those players is going to, cause them to slip out. But either way, they're still a great team. They're going to be in the playoffs this year. There's no doubt about that. They've got probably the best goalie in the league in Vasilevsky. So we'll see. But Tampa at number 3. Number 2, Toronto Maple Leafs. Leafs fans, you guys are going to get into the playoffs this year, and you're going to get past the first round. And I think you guys are going to go to at least the conference final. That's my prediction. It's all about your guys' goaltending. If the goaltending can ride that wave, I really think you guys have a chance of getting to the Eastern Conference Final, potentially even the Cup. We'll see. But Maple Leafs fans, this year might be your year. Maybe next year, we'll see. But I know you guys are going to get far into the playoffs this year. I just know it. So Leafs fans, you're at number 2, and you're going to make a good run. At number 1 in the Atlantic Division, I have the Florida Panthers. So Florida lost some really good players. Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar. Both gone, now they're in Calgary. But what they got in return was Keith Tkachuk. Keith Tkachuk is a gritty, young goal scoring, point producing guy. He's going to add a different element to that team. It's almost, they lost some really good players and point producers and whatnot, but they got one back in return, and they got a lot of grit. Keith Tkachuk's going to help them. I don't know if it's going to blow the roof off, you know what I mean, obviously, but I think they're going to maintain where they were at last year. I don't think things are going to change all that much for them. They're going to continue to dominate for the most part. Last year, they were a high-scoring team. I don't see that being any different this year, okay, at all. With the lineup they have and the goaltending they have, they're going to do just fine, okay? So Florida's going to come in at number 1, and that's my Atlantic Division predictions. So, hey, I want to thank everybody for hanging out to the end and watching. Please like and subscribe. Email me at duckshockeyandmore@gmail.com. Comment below if you don't agree with me or anything like that. I want to hear it. Let's talk about it. And check out my other videos. And thanks for watching. See ya.